Grapevine. Since I am done with season 1 of Degrassi, I will be rating all of the episodes of the season from my least favorite to my most favorite. Alright, so let's just get started. Starting from my least favorite, number 14 is episode 3, Family Politics. So this episode is about Ashley running to become class president and Toby being super petty and making JT run so Ashley will lose. There really isn't a subplot. It's more like loose storylines that don't mean anything. Emma and Manny get bullied by Spinner and Jimmy. Paige premieres her iconic hot girl look, and Liberty runs for class secretary. My main problem with this episode is that it's a little tame. Every episode doesn't have to be serious, but after the premiere episode, we had a certain expectation of the show, and a lot of episodes and storylines this season didn't deliver the same level of intensity and importance. This episode seems oddly immature considering the first episode was about pedophilia, and it felt like a placeholder or a breather from the first episode. For number 13, we have episode 6, The Mating Game. This episode is about Ashley and Jimmy celebrating their 8-month anniversary, and Ashley is feeling threatened by Paige because she thinks she has had a lot of sexual experience, and she thinks Paige is trying to push up on Jimmy, so she plans to have sex before she's ready so she doesn't lose Jimmy. This is a recycled plotline from a Degrassi Junior High episode. I know different episodes of Degrassi have always borrowed from each other, but this episode didn't really bring anything new to the plot. And the subplot was non-existent. I had a really hard time remembering it. At this point, Toby is being used as a stock character. He doesn't have any value or impact in the storylines. And this is also the beginning of the Toby, Sean, and Emma love triangle, but it's pointless because he's playing this game by himself. And no one thought for a second Emma would choose him. Moving on to number 12. This is episode 14, Under Pressure. Under Pressure. This episode is about Sean feeling pressured and insecure because he feels like he's going to fail grade 7 for another year. So he's very angry, and Jimmy came at him at the wrong time, and Sean really rocked that ass. The whole build up to this episode was the big fight, but they were just hugging the whole time, which was sweet. But a fight, it was not. Most of the subplot was just Spinner being dumb, so I didn't really care. But Miss Kwan saved it by being the bomb-ass teacher that she is. Number 11 goes to episode 7, Basketball Diaries. This episode is about Jimmy feeling pressured from his teachers, himself, about making the basketball team, and him not really having enough time to do his schoolwork. So in order to stay awake to do them both, he asks Spinner to let him have his Ritalin. So when Jimmy takes it, it makes him hyper and a little goofy. When Spinner doesn't take his medication, he has the same results. I didn't really care if Jimmy was cut from the team or not, so the end didn't have a big impact on me. And like I said, Spinner dancing around the gym and flashing everybody was hilarious. So for number 10, we have episode 5, Parents' Day. This episode was about Toby's mom and dad going to his Parents' Day at Degrassi. I'm guessing they haven't seen each other for a while since they got divorced, and it obviously was a bad divorce since they fight the whole day. This is a rare episode that is driven by the parents' actions instead of the kids' actions. This is a relatable episode because a lot of kids have dealt with their parents getting a divorce and being put in the middle of their parents fighting. Toby doesn't get a lot of storylines, and both of his major storylines have been really good. Next season, we will get his final major storyline, and then they just kind of forget that he even exists. The subplot was good. It was entertaining to see Paige and Ashley competing with each other, so Toby's mom can sign one of them to her talent agency, only to look like boo-boo fools when Terry ends up winning without even trying. Queen Terry reigns again. The girl doesn't even have to try. She just has it. So for number 9, we have episode 8, Secrets and Lies. This episode is about Ashley's dad coming back to town after being gone for a while and telling her that he is gay. Actually, her mom tells her that he's gay, which is not cool, by the way. Do not come out for other people. That's a big no-no.
Big no-no!
Not cool, dude. So the subplot really carries the entire episode for me. It's about Liberty having a crush on JT, and since he doesn't want that, he pretends to be gay. 2001 could get away with a plot line like that, but today people would be writing a 20-page think piece about it. But I love it, and I think it's hilarious, and JT is funny as hell. The main plot seemed like an afterthought, and it ended abruptly. It didn't really have an ending at all, and it's never really talked about again. But I love that Terry finally put Ashley in her place. So for number 8, we have episode 11, Friday Night. This is the episode where Simma is born. This is Sean and Emma's first date. And it's cute and adorable and awkward, and I love it. And the subplot is Jimmy and Spinner get detention by Miss Kwan, and they get revenge on her by pulling childish pranks. So Sean and Emma's first date was very realistic. I feel like it's the kind of awkward date a 12 and 13-year-old would go on. I really miss having innocent storylines like this one, of them just going out on their date and being kids, because they are kids. We forget that sometimes because of the things they go through. And Simma will always be in game for me. Spinna doesn't exist. That is just some 15-year-old's fanfic on Wattpad. It's not canon. And it's rare that the subplot is more entertaining and engaging than the main plot. The subplot basically has everything. It has revenge, comedy, drama, and regret. It deserved an episode on its own, to be honest. I would have loved to have seen a full episode with just that. For number 7, we have episode 10, Rumors and Reputations. This episode is about a rumor that's going around school about Liberty and Coach Armstrong having an inappropriate relationship, and the rumor is started by no one other than Emma. And of course she is wrong about the whole thing, and Liberty just has dyscalculia. The main plot of this episode is the closest to the season premiere episode than any other episode of the season, since this episode also talks about pedophilia. It's also interesting that Emma's rumor wasn't true, but people believed her. And Spinner's rumor about a bug being in the cafeteria was true, but nobody believed him. And I think it has a lot to do with Emma having a good reputation of being respectable and honest, and Spinner has the reputation of being the class clown. Hence why this episode is called Rumors and Reputations. There are 2 rumors, and it both impacts the reputations of 4 people, and the reputations of those people impact the validity of the rumors. There are layers to this, okay? For number 6, we have episode 12, Wannabe. This episode is about Paige starting the Spirit Squad and her needing more people to sign up for it. Manny is interested in cheerleading, so she signs up, and everyone's impressed by her, except for Emma's hating ass because she thinks it's super sexist and not feminist. It's kind of crazy to think that the Spirit Squad started so late in the season because of how important it becomes in the future seasons. Also, 2001 Canadians were so impressed by cartwheels, have no idea why. Manny does a couple of cartwheels and they're like, Beyonce? I don't get it, but okay. The subplot was pretty pointless and boring for me. Liberty, Toby, JT, oh my god, there's so many people to name. Spinner, they are doing some kind of contest with chips and they're gonna win like a lifetime supply of chips. I don't know what they're gonna win. I wasn't paying attention. It really brought down this episode for me. I think this episode would have been a lot higher on my list if it had a better subplot. But other than that, this episode is great. And it's also the beginning of Manny and Paige's long-lasting feud. Alright, top 5, the big 5. Number 5 is episode 13, Cabaret. This episode centers around Paige, Terry, and Ashley forming a group for cabaret night at their school. But it's really about Paige and Ashley's complicated friendship. They have been friends since they were like 5. And they have this weird competition with each other. And Terry is caught in the middle of all of this. Terry tries to make both of them happy, but eventually she decides to do what makes her happy, which was not singing Ashley's lame version of the song and singing Paige's remix. I love a Terry-centered episode because they usually pay my girl dust. It was a fun episode, which really showed a little bit of Terry's personality with her being interested in tarot. And the subplot was hilarious. Emma and Toby leaping around the stage like they're Peter Pan looking for Neverland. It was hilarious and I loved every minute of it. Next we have number 4, episode 4, Eye of the Beholder. This episode is about Terry being insecure about her weight and not wanting to go to the school dance because she thinks she'll have to go by herself. This is our first real experience with Paige, and it's the only time in the series that I actually hated her. I think it's one of the only times when Paige was malicious and hateful towards a close friend. But I did see a lot of myself in Terry due to her having low self-esteem because of her weight. So I love the storyline and how relatable it is. And the subplot was funny too, with Toby and JT staying home to look at porn on the internet. We've all been there. We can all relate. For number 3, we have episode 9, Coming of Age. In this episode, we see that Ashley is annoyed by Jimmy because he is always hanging around. And this is due to Jimmy basically being abandoned by his parents because they work so much and he has to be at home alone all the time, which is very sad. And of course, Ashley does not have any sympathy for him whatsoever. And Jimmy snapping on Ashley gave me so much life, and I think it's one of the main reasons why this is number 3. Because he went to town on that girl. He did not let up. And the subplot of Emma getting her first period was relatable because it's something every person with a uterus has gone through. Getting your period for the first time and being embarrassed about it is universal. This was one of the few episodes of the season and the entire series where the main plot and the subplot were both really good. So the whole episode was fantastic. And that's why it is number 3. Plus, we have a girl power moment with Paige giving Emma a mini pad in the bathroom and giving her caring advice. girls supporting girls is always my favorite. Alright, top 2. Can you guess what number 2 is going to be? Can you? I'll just tell you. Number 2 is episode 1 and 2, Mother-Child Reunion. This episode is about the characters from Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High having their class reunion, and about Emma meeting a guy she's been talking to online in person. This episode has a nostalgic factor for everyone who watched the original series. To some people, Emma's storyline may have overshadowed the class reunion storyline, but for me and other friends of Degrassi Junior High and Degrassi High, it tied up a lot of loose ends. So that was great. The main plot was really ahead of its time. This was the beginning of the internet, and people weren't really aware of catfishing and online predators. The shows Catfish and To Catch a Predator hadn't even came out yet. So this was a shocking and taboo storyline for them to do. And it was very smart of them to include this storyline in a teen drama. Alright, number 1. I've been talking about it for months. You all know what it is. It is episode 15, Jagged Little Pill. It's like this episode is about Ashley getting high off ecstasy at a party at her house, and her reading everybody in the room to filth. Before doing this rewatch, this episode and the 2-part premiere were the only episodes I remembered from the first season. This episode was the real start of Degrassi: The Next Generation for me. This was the first storyline where a main character's life is drastically changed for the remainder of the episode. After Ashley goes off on everybody and they leave, she will never have the same friends again. Her whole status in school will change forever. This episode was a hot mess, and I loved every minute of it. Ashley went ham on Jimmy, and I think she was getting back at him for tearing her ass up in the coming of age episode, because she showed up and showed out. It was magnificent. Alright, so that is the end of my list. 14 to number 1. Let me know what you think about my list. Make your own list in the comments. Okay. Make sure you check out all my reactions to season 1. I will link the playlist in the description. Make sure you like and subscribe. Share this video. Alright.